I'd just like to start by saying a thank you to Bob. Bob was magnificent. We had 6,000 miles of the Pacific Ocean to cross, and I was terrified, quite frankly, because I said to Bob, "Look, you've got to do something here." And do you know what he did? Instead of sending us down south, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, you know what it's like down there, we went 20 degrees and we went across and had a lovely tropical cruise. So thank you, Bob. You did it for me. Thank you very much.
No, so um, okay, so we started out, and it was this is actually a picture of us going across a bar in Brazil back in July this year. It was, and the story of a little trip to South America starts a lot earlier. And Bob, thank you. It's nice to you asked us to speak, and certainly a pleasure to be patron of the organisation that we helped create back in the 70s and take part in developing. We can't attend meetings as often as we would like, but I guess that being halfway around the world is probably a reasonable excuse. And anybody, if you've got any questions or anything you want to ask or comment on or laugh at or joke about, please do so as we go along. But for many, many years ago, we started to become interested in Chile. It fascinated me for a long time. Karin sort of looked askance at Cape Horn and all those sort of things. And I once came home with a pilot for Antarctica, and she saw it and she just said no. So we thought about that for a while. I'll mention that a bit later again. And I suppose the voyage actually began last year when snow was falling in Auckland, and we used that nice little gale to sail up the coast of New Zealand in order to get to the Bay of Islands and try out make sure everything was going okay. Bob, as Karin said, Bob is actually the smiling face of New Zealand weather. I think we'd all agree with that. He's also known as Cyclone Santa, but that's just at Christmas time. He provided us with a wonderful route plan, but the route plan he provided was in stark contrast to all the other books, as Karin mentioned, all the other books and all the pilots and guides and things saying, if you're going to South America, go east and then angle up to Tahiti. And so that was sort of what I had in mind. But Bob said, no, I want you to go northeast. And I sort of did think for a moment, have I done something really nasty to Bob? He wants us to have headwinds all the way to Chile. However, it didn't work out that way. He was remarkable in his accuracy. We went out there, not quite sure about this weather routing thing, but all the way to Chile. He gave us warm temperatures and nice islands to call at. But of course, there is a prediction that you're going to have a storm somewhere along the way, or a gale, when you undertake a voyage like that. And we got one. Bob said it was not going to be quite where we were, but it changed its mind and came and clobbered us. Yeah, sorry. Okay, we did get 40 to 50 knots for a day, a couple of days as the front came through. And previously we'd had the boat as a cutter, and we'd actually fitted a mizzen, because when we tried to heave to, the bow fell off so badly that we fitted the mizzen, and it gave us a chance to try that out. And it worked very, very well indeed. We just rose up over the waves, and it wasn't too bad. We did have, of course, a parachute sea anchor, a wonderful Coppin sea anchor that gets really nasty. We haven't used it yet, and we hope we never do. Okay, but just after the front passed through, we started sailing again with just a small headsail on. The wind went from 50 knots northeast to 20 knots northwest, just in a matter of moments. And the next thing we knew, the Genoa set itself. And what had happened was the furler had jumped out of, you can actually see the furler here, it had actually jumped out of the tube had jumped out of the furler, and the Genoa unwound itself very nicely, which was not what we wanted. It blew the tack out of it, and so we had to get it down inside the boat. And then a few days later, when it the weather improved, I got out there with a drill and drilled some more holes and taps and things, and then had to put holes through the cabling in the genoa and put some spectra in it, and that's exactly how it is at the moment. And then a few days later, it was on to Rivavai.
And that was our first stop, and our trip nearly ended there because it was so gorgeous in comparison. We stayed just about a week. Then we had a very gentle run across to Gambia for 5 days. That's near Mururoa. I couldn't believe it was so lovely. And it's a perfect tropical island, as you can see. There are few tourists, white sand fringed with coral, blue skies, warm water, friendly people and dogs. It's very basic, but they do have a brand new ATM machine, so we could get some money and crisp French bread from the van in the morning. So it was really gorgeous. And there you can see a little place for our dinghy.
Yeah, certainly a lovely spot indeed. We headed across about another 400 or 500 miles across to Gambia, which is a great big lagoon, a huge lagoon, numerous islands around the outside. Again, French Polynesia, and so very expensive. You know, diesel's $5 a litre. I can tell you it's 25 cents a litre in Trinidad. That's pretty good. This is the main centre on Mangariva Island, and over on the extreme right there, there's some great cathedral that was built there.
And this is the wharf on the day the ferry arrives. It's chaotic, total chaos. You've got the whole island turns up to collect all their gear, and four-wheel drives. You've got kids, you've got drums of diesel and petrol just rolling about, and it's an amazing place. We bought fuel off that ship there. We didn't know how to get it, but we finally located, just as the ferry was about to leave, we found out you got it from there.
They have a pump on board. Mangariva, mad Bishop Laval, some years ago, built a cathedral there. It fits 2,000 people, and the population's 500. He built a lot of other churches around the group as well. And he got the locals to cut out these great big coral blocks weighing tons that he built the churches and cathedrals out of, all for a religion they'd not heard of. And the sad part is, many of them died in the process of trying to build his churches. So that's why they call him Mad Bishop Laval. Then we had a long haul. We wanted to go to Easter Island, but the Andes high had come in, and Bob said, well, it's not going to be easy, and we believed every word he said at this stage, and he was right anyway. So we gave away Easter Island, and so we followed around the isobars around the big high there, the Andes high in the eastern Pacific, to Chile and Valdivia, and it was 28 days, 3,600 odd miles, I think we sailed, and only an albatross and a few other seabirds. But we got excited one day, really excited one day, just out of Chile. We actually have AIS, and the AIS spotted a ship 40 miles away, and so that was a really good, exciting day. AIS is a marvelous invention. Just don't go to sea without it. It really does help.
This was to be our Spinnaker's last run. It had carried us, it's very sad, yes. It had carried us for thousands of miles, many oceans over 24 years, and it split in two places after it jammed a tiny bit in the bag as we hoisted it.